What is up, guys? Woo here, back with a brand new video, and today we are going to be doing part 2 of What If All For One was Deku's mentor. So let's get into a quick recap on what happened in the first part. Basically, in the first part, All For One had saved Deku from the sludge monster and gave Deku a quirk after seeing his motivation for being a hero, because All For One thought he could take advantage of that motivation. Now we see Deku trying to use his quirk that he got called Sixth Sense, and before we get started into the what if, make sure you hit the like button and let's try to get 150 likes for the next part of this series. With that all the way, let's get started. Deku gets hit with a tennis ball and yells, "Ow, that hurt." Kodagiri responds by saying, "Of course it's gonna hurt a little, think about it. Do you think other people are gonna let up like that? No, they aren't, so get prepared for some pain." Deku nods and agrees with Kodagiri and then gets himself ready as the ball comes. Deku senses it, but before he can react, it hits him again. Deku tries to ignore the pain and gets ready again. This goes on for a while until Deku can finally dodge the ball. Kodagiri congratulates him, but then laughs, saying, "Are you ready for more?" Deku says, "Excuse me," but then more balls come out of nowhere. This time, 3 balls. Deku was able to dodge one of them, but got hit by the other 2. He falls on the sand in pain, but is also exhausted after Kodagiri kept hitting him with the tennis balls. Kodagiri sees how exhausted Deku is and tells him to get back up since time waits for no one and he isn't going to wait for Deku. Deku quickly gets back up and says, "Let's try this again." A few days pass and Deku is finally able to dodge all 3 balls without a struggle. Kodagiri says that he's proud of him, but they're not done yet. Deku laughs, saying, "What are you going to do? Add 4 balls to the mix?" Kodagiri replies saying, "No, not 4, but 6. Deku looks worried as he sees all the balls come at him at once. He manages to dodge 4 of them, but gets hit by the other 2. Deku explains that he didn't even sense the other 2 balls coming at him and starts to wonder why that's the case. Kodagiri sighs, saying, "I guess that I thought is true. Midoriya, the weakness to the quirk is that if there's too much happening around you, you won't be able to sense all of the upcoming threats." Deku looks nervously and asks him what is he supposed to do if he can't sense every danger coming towards him. Kodagiri tells him not to worry though and just to analyze the surrounding area and adapt. Deku takes this into his mind and focuses very hard on his quirk, and this time he notices that time slows down slightly for him. Not a lot, but enough for him to react faster to things around him, rather than before it was just a tingle. He ducks, dodging one of the balls, while grabbing one of the ones that passed him and throws it at another ball, sending that ball into another direction, and then jumps to avoid the rest of the balls. Kodagiri claps, saying, "Nice moves, Midoriya, you finally get it, don't you? All you had to do was focus on your quirk and you were able to notice that everything around you slowed down, correct?" Deku asks how it's possible, and Kodagiri continues to explain that time didn't slow down at all, but Deku's perception of time had slowed down, making him able to analyze the situation more. Keep in mind, you don't have super speed, so if you move during this state, your movements will be slow as well. So don't rely on it too much because it can become a crutch, and you don't want to rely on it too much. Kodagiri says that now that you've gotten used to your quirk to some degree, it's time to work on that fragile body of yours. Deku looks at his arms and legs and starts to get self-conscious. Kodagiri says don't worry though, with a workout routine he developed, he will be fit in no time. Deku looks at him confidently and says that he is ready for whatever workout Kodagiri had prepared for him. A few months pass and Deku is training both his quirk and his body, and he looks more confidently and excited for what Kodagiri has planned for him since he hadn't gotten a reply for All For One in months. Kodagiri looks at Deku saying that he looks way happier than before, but keep in mind the UA entrance exam is only a few months away, so he can't relax right now. Deku asks how he is relaxing if he is working as hard as he can, but Kodagiri tells him while being fit and mastering your quirk is useful, you must keep in mind that you don't know how to fight or use any weapons to defend yourself at all. Deku looks nervous again, asking what Kodagiri is implying. He looks at Deku and tells him that he's going to be learning how to fight since he needs to master it in time for him to be able to get into UA. Deku agrees and starts training. Deku tries to punch Kodagiri and misses, then Kodagiri kicks Deku, sending him flying, and he falls into the sand, saying, "Ow, that really hurt." Kodagiri says that Deku needs to try and use his quirk while fighting. Deku responds saying, "Didn't you tell me not to rely on it too heavily months ago?" Kodagiri says, "You pay attention, that's new. While you shouldn't rely on it too much, use it so you know where you're going to strike, so you can at least dodge it even if you can't hit me." Deku prepares himself again and goes for a kick, and as Kodagiri ducks and he sees Kodagiri go for an uppercut, Deku's Sixth Sense activates. He dodges the attack with a flip. Kodagiri asks how did he learn that, and Deku replies saying he studies how heroes fight a lot, so he's trying to add it to his quirk to develop a special fighting style. Kodagiri sounds impressed as he says, "Well then, it's time for your next lesson, weapons and how to use them." More months have passed and Deku gets ready for the UA entrance exams. He walks up to the school excited for whatever is going to happen next, and as he readies himself, he sees Bakugo, who bullies him as normal. Deku, as he is ready to walk into the school, trips and almost falls, but before he can rebalance himself, he floats in the air, as a nice girl says that falling is a bad sign of bad luck, and she didn't want him to fall, so she decided to use her quirk to catch him. She wishes him good luck and then walks away. Deku, being a nervous wreck, can't get any words out to thank her as she walks away. Deku hears the orientation for the exams and hears that it's going to be a competition on how many robots they can take out in a certain amount of time. Deku gets nervous since he wonders how his quirk will be useful, but decides not to dwell on it too much and walks outside ready for the exam. President Mike yells begin right when he walks out, and he starts to run, panicking as he tries to think of a way to take down the robots. Deku looks around at all the rebel and remembers the training that Kodagiri had given him, and then grabs a broken piece of a already defeated robot that looks like a shield and ties the wires around his arm as he keeps running. He sees a robot that is about to attack him, and as it goes for a hit, his sixth sense activates, letting Deku dodge it in the right direction. And with that, he hits the robot as hard as he can with the makeshift shield, and manages to break the head off, making the robot explode. Deku looks excitedly as he sees that it was a 3-point robot. He looks confidently as he keeps going for some robots. At this point, he managed to get 30 hero points, but he thinks to himself how that might not be enough. He looks up, and as he hears President Mike yell, "There's only 2 minutes left on the clock," he begins to freak out, wondering if he's even going to get enough points to make it into the school. And then, all of a sudden, a giant 0-pointer robot comes out of nowhere. Deku looks nervously and decides to run off and try to figure out what he should do. Then he hears a girl scream in pain. He turns around and sees that it was the girl that caught him from falling under a giant piece of rubble. Then, without thinking, he rushes towards the giant 0-pointer robot to try to save her, and his sixth sense goes off as he's trying to compress the effect since it's going off like wildfire. Then all of a sudden he remembers that he can slow down his perception of time when it goes off like this, so he does just that, and as he's sprinting towards the robot, he activates his quirk and starts to think of a plan. He remembers that the girl is able to levitate things with her quirk, and sees that the problem is her hands aren't able to reach the giant robot since she is stuck under a giant piece of rubble. He also sees the shield in his hands and comes up with an idea. Then his sixth sense reaction time is sped up back to a normal presence of time, and he sees that he did all that thinking in less than a step. He sprints forward even faster and yells to the girl as soon as he lifts the rock she needs to use her quirk to levitate the rock, and as soon as she does that, hold on to said rock. She asks how this is going to do anything helpful, and he tells her not to worry about that and just listen to him. She agrees and gets herself ready as Deku throws the makeshift shield under the rock and then jumps onto the broken piece of robot armor and yells "now" as he puts as much pressure as he can onto the broken robot piece, and as this happens, the giant boulder slowly lifts up, and then she uses her quirk and grabs onto it. Deku quickly holds onto the rebel as well and then starts to float up. She asks how this is going to help, and then he tells her to release the levitation on the rock and prepare herself to land on the robot. She does so as they fall onto the giant robot. The giant piece of rock hits the robot's head, making it fall off, and then as it starts to explode, they slide off the robot's giant arm. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed part 2 of What If All For One Was Deku's Mentor. Again, the like goal is 150 likes if y'all want me to keep this series going. Also, I'm trying to upload more. I know it's a little difficult for me right now, but I'm still trying for you guys because I love you guys. So I'm trying my hardest. New videos coming up soon. I'm trying my best. See you guys then. Peace out.